Today, we are going to learn how we can divide mentally. Dividing is just like multiplying, but doing it backwards. Let's read our question. Mr. Diaz ordered a supply of 1,800 pastels. He wants to divide them equally among his class and 5 other art classes. How many pastels does each class receive? Our question is, how many pastels does each class receive? We know that he is starting with 1,800 and he wants to divide them equally among his class and 5 other classes. This is actually a 2-step problem because we're not just using the numbers that we see. If we want to use his class and 5 other classes, we have to add 5 plus 1 equals 6 for a total of 6 classes. Let's start, without reading the rest of the problem, let's start at B. We want to find 1,800 divided by 6. If we look at this chart right here, 1,800 is on the top, and then we're going to divide that into 6 equal groups down here. So we have to use the basic fact of 18 divided by 6. When you divide, think about 6 times what equals 18. If you said 3, then you're correct. So we have 18 divided by 6, which equals 3, and we have 2 zeros left, so we need to add those to our answer. If we divide 1,800 into 6 equal groups, each group will have 300. Now let's look at the second part of our problem. It says if Mr. Diaz stores the pastels, so each class will receive new pastels 5 times a year, how many pastels are handed out each of the 5 times? So now we have a new question, and we're going to use the answer from our first question to answer this one. We want to find out how many pastels are handed out each of the 5 times. Well, we know that we are starting with 300 because that is how many each class received from the last problem. Now, we need to divide 300 by 5 because we want to find out how many pastels are handed out each of the 5 times. So once again, we're going to underline our basic fact before we divide. We have 30 and 5, and 30 divided by 5, or 5 times what, equals 30, which is 6. Then since we have 1 0 in our basic fact, we only have 1 0 left. So our answer is going to be 60. 300 divided by 5 is 60. This chart right here shows you're starting with 300. We're dividing it into 5 equal groups. So each of the P's would be 60. Let's go down to the convince me problem. It says write the missing dividends for each of the following equations. How did you determine each dividend? Remember, the dividend is the biggest number in a division problem. It is the number that you are going to divide into equal groups. So we want to find out for the first one, what number divided by 7 is 70? All you do is go backwards. What is 7 times 7? Well, 7 times 7 is 49, and then make sure you add the 0. So 490 divided by 7 is 70. Let's look at number 2, or the second problem. We have what number divided by 8 is 50? So just go backwards. 5 times 8 is 40, and then add your 0. So we get 400. On the last problem on this page, we want to know what number divided by 4 is 800. Well, 8 times 4 is 32, and we have 2 zeros here, so we're just going to add 2 zeros. So 3,200 divided by 4 would equal 800. This is not in your book, so please take these notes in your math notebook. When you are using division, all you have to do is multiply to figure out the answer. I'm going to give you some examples. If I have 24 divided by 3 equals what quotient? Quotient is the answer to a multiplication or a division problem, and you will already have this written in your notes. So all you have to do is think 3 times what number equals 24? Now, I know that you all know your facts because we have worked so hard on that. So your answer should be 8. 3 times 8 is 24. Therefore, 24 divided by 3 is 8. Let's try another one. If I have 200 divided by 4, it's going to equal what number? Well, this number has a 0, an extra 0 in it. We have to find out 4 times what number is going to equal 20, because that will be our basic fact. If your answer was 5, you are correct. If I know that 4 times 5 is 20, then all I have to do is add an extra 0 to get to 200. Let's do one more. If I have 36 divided by 6, I want to find out what that answer is. So if you're having a difficult time with dividing, just flip it. Think to yourself, 6 times what number equals 36? If your answer was 6, you are correct. 36 divided by 6 equals 6. Dividing is easy if you think of it in terms of multiplication. Let's do the guided practice together. Number 1, explain how 32 divided by 4 can help you solve 320 divided by 4. Well, we need to figure out our basic fact, and 32 divided by 4 is 8. Therefore, 320 divided by 4, we know that 4 times 8 is 32, and then we just have to add our 0. Number 2, Mr. Gall orders 240 folders and divides them equally among 3 classes. We want to find out how many folders does each class receive, and what basic fact did you use? So we have 240 divided by 3. Think to yourself, 3 times what is 24? 3 times 8 is 24. Then we have a 0, so we need to add our 0 to our quotient. Our answer is 80 folders. And the basic fact that we used was 8 times 3 equals 24. For 3 through 4, use basic facts and patterns to find each quotient. Number 3, 28 divided by 7. Think to yourself, 7 times what is 28? Your answer should be 4. Then 280 divided by 7, I'm going to write it down here. So we have 280 divided by 7. We're going to get in the habit of underlining our basic fact. So we have 28 divided by 7 is 4. And then we need to add 1 0. So we get 40. Next, we have 2,800 divided by 7. Well, our basic fact is 28 divided by 7, which is 4, and then add 2 zeros. So you should get 400. Number 4. I'm going to just put it down here. We have 64 divided by 8. So think to yourself, what times 8 equals 64? Well, your answer would be 8. Now we have 640 divided by 8. Our basic fact is 64 divided by 8, which is 8, and then add your 0. Last, we have 6,400 divided by 8. Underline your basic fact. 64 divided by 8 is 8, and now we have 2 zeros, so our answer is 800. Please do all the problems on page 255, and then come show me your work. Make sure that you underline your basic fact before you come show me.